My name's Elias. I've been working night security at Jude's for about 8 months now. The pay's decent, $18 an hour, and mostly it's just walking empty hallways, checking doors, watching grainy security footage in that tiny office near reception. The hospital's old, real old, built in the 50s, with these long tiled hallways that echo like crazy when it's empty. About half the building's shut down now, whole wings just sitting dark, plastic sheeting over the equipment. They've got me doing the rounds through the active sections, mostly. But sometimes I have to check the old areas too. The first weird thing happened on a Tuesday. I was doing my 2 a.m. round through the West Wing, the part they closed back in 2017. The air always smells different there, like someone left a mop bucket full of bleach water to sour. Then I found something, one of the patient charts, lying in the middle of the hallway. That's strange. These halls haven't been used in years. The charts should have all been archived or shredded, but this one was fresh. The paper still crisp, the ink not even faded. I flipped it open. Patient 4472, experimental treatment log. Page after page of handwritten notes I couldn't make sense of. Dermal resequencing, neural dampeners. I didn't get any of it. So I brought it to Reynolds, the day shift supervisor, but he just shrugged it off. Probably some med student playing pranks. Toss it. So I did. But then, about a week later, I heard some weird noise while doing the check-ins. It wasn't ghost sounds. I don't believe in that crap. Real, physical noises, like something moving behind the walls. First time I heard it, I was sitting at the nurse's station, 3rd floor. This soft thump coming from inside the wall, behind the medication fridge, like someone knocking, politely. I checked the supply closet, but nothing. Then last night, I swear I heard crying. Not ghostly wailing, real, wet sobs, coming from the old pediatric wing. That part of the hospital's been locked up since before I started. The doors have actual chains on them. A few days passed, and I found a note taped to my locker. A scrap with, "They can still hear you," written in shaky capitals. No signature, no fingerprints. I started carrying my taser after that. The smells got worse. That antiseptic stink, always there, but now with an undertone. Spoiled meat, wet cardboard. Strongest near the basement stairwell. Janice from housekeeping asked me, "You smell it too?" We've put in 3 work orders. Maintenance says the pipes are fine. Then came the strangest. The door was open. The pediatric wing, the one that's supposed to be chained shut, the chain was just hanging loose. The door was cracked, about 2 inches. I radioed it in. "Secure it. Wait for the police." I should have waited, but I heard it. Laughter. A kid's laughter. Clear as day. I pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. That same rotting meat stench got 100 times stronger. My flashlight trembled as I swept it across the room. Beds, dozens of them, all made up with fresh linens. IV stands, full bags hanging ready, and on the far wall, a hole. Not like damage, a clean square opening, 3 feet wide, where the drywall had been cut away. Dark inside. Something moved, bigger. I saw the hand, pale fingers, curling around the edge. Too long, too many joints. I ran. Police found 12 kids in the walls, alive. They'd been there for years, fed through gaps in the plumbing access, kept quiet, with hospital's own supply. The man who did it? Dr. Raymond Kessler, head of pediatrics, until 2016. Fired for unorthodox treatment methods. Never left the hospital though. They found his nest in the basement. Charts on every kid, notes on their progress, and photos, hundreds of them, of staff, like me, walking past the very spots where those kids were hidden. I quit the next day, but sometimes, when I'm trying to sleep, I still hear it, and I wonder how many more holes are in that hospital. They fixed the walls. They changed the locks. But last month, Janice texted me, said they found another chart in the West Wing. Fresh paper, new handwriting. The pain hit me like a knife twist at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. One minute I was sleeping, the next I was curled up sweating through my shirt. My wife drove me to the ER, with me clutching a trash bag in my lap, certain I was going to vomit from the pain. The emergency room was chaos. Fluorescent lights buzzing, a kid screaming about his broken arm, that sharp alcohol smell that never quite covers up whatever else lingers in hospitals. They rushed me into surgery before I could even process what was happening. The last thing I remember is the anesthesiologist saying, "Count backwards from 10. I made it to 7 when I woke up groggy, with a dull ache in my side. A nurse with dark circles under her eyes told me they'd removed my appendix. Routine procedure," she said. "You'll be walking by tomorrow." That first day was just pain meds and fitful sleep between nurse checks. They put me in a shared room with 3 other patients, an old man with pneumonia, a college kid in a cast from a motorcycle accident, and a silent guy who stared at the ceiling like it held secrets. On night 3, I was lying there trying to ignore the pneumonia patient's wheezing when I first heard it. A soft tap-tap from the wall behind my bed, not mechanical like pipes knocking, more like fingernails drumming on a table. I told myself it was just the building settling, and eventually fell asleep. It came back the next night, around the same time, 1:30 a.m. when the ward got quiet. This time I noticed the pattern. 3 quick taps, 2 slow ones, then silence, then repeat. I pressed my ear to the wall. The sound wasn't coming from the other side. It was inside the wall itself. A cold sweat broke across my back as I realized there shouldn't be any space in there for something to move. These were solid concrete walls, with maybe an inch of drywall covering. That's when they moved Mr. Silas into the bed across from me. He was maybe 70, so thin the hospital gown hung off him, with these pale eyes that never seemed to focus right. The nurses treated him different. Quick checks, avoiding his questions. When the tapping started again that night, Silas went still, like he'd been waiting for it. "It knows we're talking about it," he murmured, pulling his blanket up. "My appendix may be gone, but my ears work fine," I said, trying to laugh it off. "What is that?" "The thing in the walls." His voice dropped lower. "They built this place on old tunnels. Sometimes things find their way up." A nurse I hadn't seen before, young guy with a name tag reading J. Ruiz, appeared in the doorway, just as the tapping got louder, more insistent. His eyes darted to the wall behind me. "Everything okay in here?" "There's something tapping," I started. "Post-op hallucinations are common," he cut in too quickly, but his fingers were white-knuckled around his clipboard. That's when I noticed the stain on the wall, a dark spot about the size of a quarter, right where the tapping came from. It looked like water damage, but when I touched it, the surface was dry and slightly spongy, like pressing on skin through fabric. Next morning, Silas was gone. Nurse Ruiz said he'd been transferred to ICU, but when I pressed for details, he just repeated, "transferred to ICU," like it was a script. The day shift nurses all gave me tight smiles when I asked about the tapping. Night 5 changed everything. The tapping started earlier, around midnight. This time it wasn't random. It was deliberate, rhythmic, over and over. I pressed my ear to the wall and nearly screamed when I felt something push back from the other side. Not a tap, a slow pressure that made the drywall flex slightly. I hit the nurse call button so hard it cracked. When Ruiz came running, I was standing 3 feet from the bed, with my IV pole raised like a weapon. "There's something in the goddamn wall." Ruiz didn't pretend not to understand this time. He grabbed my chart, scribbling frantically. "I'm having Dr. Callahan adjust your..." The wall cracked. A jagged split tore right through the stained spot. Something thick and dark oozed out. Not blood, but something oily and foul-smelling. Ruiz went sheet white. He grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises. "We're moving you, now." As he dragged me out, I looked back. The crack was widening, and through it, I swear I saw something move. Not a rat or a bug. Something with fingers that bent the wrong way. They discharged me the next morning, with no explanation beyond, "Take these antibiotics." When I asked about Silas, the receptionist said no patient by that name had been admitted. I drove past St. Augustine's last week. Room 214's window is boarded up now. Funny thing, the boards are on the inside. And sometimes at home, when I'm trying to sleep, I'll hear faint tapping from inside my bedroom wall. 3 quick, 2 slow, like it's practicing. The city condemned St. Augustine's last month. The report said structural issues. But my cousin's a fire inspector who worked the case. He told me they found tunnels under the foundation that don't appear on any blueprints. And in one of them, a single hospital bed. The restraints were still warm,